Hi, my name is Veronica Porter, and I am going to be doing this presentation on forever chemicals. So, at first, I want to do my research on consumerism and how much the US wastes. But when researching, I found out about something I was not yet familiar with, which is forever chemicals. These forever chemicals, which are known as PFAS, might be found in the water we drink and the food we consume, and even in products we use. Side note, I'll be using the term forever chemicals and PFAS interchangeably in this presentation. These man-made chemicals were given the nickname forever chemicals because their chemistry resists the breakdown in a typical environmental condition, which is advantageous in regards to repelling water or oil, but not in the long-term scheme of things. These PFAS are estimated to take about hundreds or thousands of years to break down. So the question this led me to ask is, if forever chemicals have these drawbacks, why create them or even use them in the first place? PFAS were created in the mid-20th century, so about the 1940s. PFAS included different types, and there were a great number of them used in the past and used today in the global market. There were and are advantageous because many were created to resist grease, oil, water, and even heat, which made many products durable and are even used in flame-fighting foam. This slide explains and maps out the history behind these forever chemicals, and currently the United States no longer makes them, but the damage has already been done and there are still currently problems from what has been done in the past and even what is currently being done. Here shows the 1950s and the 1960s, and here's other part of the data that shows how the products were used and how the products are still being used today. Scientists and researchers have discovered that Americans can be exposed by these forever chemicals by drinking contaminated water and using products with PFAS, and the list is extensive. The chemicals not only affect humans but also wildlife. In humans, it can cause reproductive issues in reproductive health, liver and kidneys, and even the immune system and development. Research is indicating that it can also increase the risk for cancer and shows that if these certain chemicals enter the bloodstream, can decrease how well the body responds to vaccines, which is a really big issue. And also, these PFASs can also stay in the body for long term. In another article, it mentioned that there is also a risk for babies as well as in utero and also breastfeeding children. However, they did mention because of the benefits of breastfeeding that if there is not a huge risk with the PFAS, that a child should continue breastfeeding. However, on a happy note, these PFASs are not allowed to be made in the United States. But this cannot be said for other countries, whereas, as far as I know, still can be shipped here after it's made. In Ohio-Indiana region, a team of researchers sought to see how the level of pollutants in the urban, suburban, and even rural areas. To the team's surprise, the atmosphere was still had high levels, even though it hadn't been produced in the United States for quite some time. And because of these forever chemicals pollutants, they are able to travel into the atmosphere and deposit with rain, and will continue this cycle but won't break down, so it will travel far from the source, which is why they were able to find them in both urban, suburban, and rural areas. Looking closer to home, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency found around 60 no longer used landfills in 41 counties that had PFAS contamination in the groundwater, which exceeds health-based guidance values. And for me, this surprised me because I had no idea about this, and when searching the list, which is found here, I found the counties that I'm close to have issues with PFAS in their groundwater. The EPA published a health advisory in 2016 and unveiled an action plan in 2019, which includes plans to create new and better methods to detect chemicals in drinking water, soil, and groundwater. EPA has updated recently its website to issue groundwater cleanup and regulations under the Safe Drinking Water Act. Other states have issued things to restrict the use of products with PFAS, such as stopping the use of firefighting foam in training. Like, for instance, Georgia is one of the third states to do it. I saw a news article how they no longer allow this firefighting foam to be used unless in training and only be used in circumstances that dictate it. The government has acknowledged the potential harm of these forever chemicals and the damage it currently has on the United States. And I'm very glad the United States does not create PFAS here, but I hope we can ban the imported goods or at least have a stronger regulations so far, such as tax incentives or at least PFAS tax to encourage companies now to no longer sell these items. Also, to create cleanups such as filters or find ways to safely use microbes to clean up the PFAS is in the water. There was a study done back when looking at PCBs back in the 1980s where they thought they were non-biodegradable, but using microbes they found that they were used to break down these chemicals, and so scientists hope maybe that's possible for PFAS. Another concern is that even though the United States no longer makes them and they try to restrict what comes into the United States, people are worried that these regulations have numerous loopholes where companies can pretty much get things through and cause more issues with our landfills since we have no way to break down these chemicals, that they find that it's an unnecessary risk and continues the cycle of how much pollutants we're putting in our atmosphere. So I do understand that the government needs to take a responsibility, and companies need to take responsibility for the use of PFAS in their products, groundwater, and things like that. But I do believe we as a population can do something about it and tell our representatives that there's no reason to use these chemicals anymore. Something you can do is call or email your health and environmental quality departments seeking accountability, asking important questions on what is being done in your area, because this is, I find that it is very prevalent in many different states. And so my hope is that once you understand, or we understand the areas where contamination is present, that we fight or we encourage our government to do something about it, about cleanup, and find that the people here do want change to occur. Also, know what products you're using and what food you're consuming and what is being used. They mentioned there are certain words that are shown on this slide that are ways to indicate whether your products use these PFAS in their products. Also, they talked about how products like Teflon, which is associated with nonstick pans, and that they tend to use these chemicals. And so if you change what you purchase, will show companies that people are no longer willing to purchase these type of chemicals or products with these chemicals in them. So here's a screenshot from a website called toxicfreefuture.org, which I thought was very helpful and very informative about PFAS being in certain products that I had no idea about. For instance, microwave popcorn bags. I did not know that was really a thing. Or such as fast food wrappers could also contain these chemicals in them. So this was a quick Google search, and there is a lot of information or more information coming because people are understanding what risk can be involved with these forever chemicals. I encourage you to look more into it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.